The sun was setting over the village of Dim Shadow, leaving the sky covered in shades of orange and red, giving the village a mysterious and eerie aura. Life in the village began winding down with the end of the day, and people were preparing to return to their homes, locking their doors tightly, as if fleeing from something unseen. In this awe-inspiring scene, the village was getting ready to welcome a strange visitor. Ali, a man in his mid-40s, was returning to his village after a long absence of more than 20 years. He had left the village in his youth in search of a better opportunity in the big city, driven by hopes and expectations for a life entirely different from the one he had known in Dim Shadow. The village had changed a lot since Ali had left. The houses were now coated with a layer of dust, as if they had been asleep for decades. The streets that were once filled with children running and playing were now empty and silent. It seemed as though the village itself had become merely a shadow of what it once was. Ali passed by fields that were once abundant with crops, but had now turned into barren lands. A sense of loneliness weighed heavily on him, as he felt that the village itself was dying. But what caught his attention more than anything else was the graveyard silence, which seemed to envelop everything. Ali finally reached his old home, a small house on the outskirts of the village. The doors and windows were dilapidated, but the place still retained its old essence. He cautiously opened the door and stepped inside. The place was filled with memories, but they were more painful than comforting. Ali sat on an old chair in the corner of the main room, lost in his thoughts. There was a strong sense of nostalgia, but it was mixed with a feeling of fear and mystery. Ali decided he would spend the night there, and in the morning he would explore the village. But that night was not peaceful. In the middle of the night, Ali was awakened by strange whispers coming from outside. The whispers were faint, but carried a tone of sadness and pain. Ali approached the window and looked outside, but all he saw was pitch darkness. Ali tried to go back to sleep, but the whispers continued, seeming to get closer and closer. His heart was pounding, and he felt something holding him in place. There was a strong sense of danger surrounding him, as if eyes were watching him from the dark. Ali stayed awake for the rest of the night, listening to the whispers that never stopped. He was sure that something mysterious was happening in this village, and that his return was not a coincidence. There was a mysterious force at work, and Ali knew that he had to uncover this mystery. With the dawn, Ali decided that he would go to the cemetery. The whispers had come from that direction, and he felt that something was waiting for him there. But he didn't know that what he would discover in that cemetery would open doors to a world filled with secrets and darkness. The next morning, Ali left his home and headed toward the cemetery. The cemetery was located on the outskirts of the village, surrounded by a dense forest that made reaching it uncomfortable. Tall, dark trees encircled the place, as if trying to hide it from the outside world. When Ali arrived at the cemetery, a strange feeling took hold of him. The place was dark even in broad daylight, and there was a strange smell in the air. The graves were haphazardly arranged as if they had been forgotten over time. Ali moved cautiously among the graves, looking at the eroded headstones with names barely readable. Everything in the place indicated its age, but there was something else, something not easily defined, as if it were a buried secret. As Ali moved among the graves, an isolated old grave caught his attention. The headstone was made of dark stone, with a mysterious inscription in a language he couldn't read. This grave was different from the others, as if it hid something more than just the remains of someone long gone. Ali sat next to the grave, trying to read the inscription, but the words were unclear, as if time had deliberately erased them. He felt that there was a mysterious force linking this grave to what was happening in the village. The whispers he had heard the previous night still echoed in his mind, and he was sure they were connected to this place. As Ali gazed at the grave, he suddenly felt a coldness run through his body. The wind blew strangely, stirring the trees around him. He looked around cautiously, but there was nothing unusual. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Ali decided that he would return to the cemetery at night, where he felt the darkness might reveal what the place was hiding. He knew that returning at night would be risky, but curiosity was stronger than fear. As night approached, Ali returned to the cemetery. The place was more terrifying than he.